All right. Let's do top five, bottom three teams in the NFL. Number five, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. Like, even the people who are optimistic about the Commanders drafting Jaden Daniels still undersold it somehow. He's been amazing. He's led this team in rushing multiple games. He's literally carried this franchise on its back. He's made life a lot easier for Austin Eckler and Terry McLaurin. So I'm thinking that the Washington Commanders not only are the best team in the NFC East, they might be possibly the second best team in the NFC, period. Number four, let's go with the Houston Texans here. Losing Nico Collins hurts, but this is why you bring in a guy like Stephon Diggs, right? Coming in, getting that win in Buffalo is a stepping stone for the AFC hierarchy. Shout out to them. You know, if it comes down to math, winning against the AFC opponent that a lot of people had, you know, maybe not in the Super Bowl, but at least in contention for the AFC title is a good sign. So a win against a conference rival or a conference opponent always helps. So shout out to the Houston Texans for finding a way to win that game. Number three, Baltimore. Hey, it's starting to come together for this Ravens team. Any talk that Derrick Henry was washed, go ahead and stop all that. Not only is Derrick Henry not washed, he is averaging a league high of 115 yards, rushing yards per game. And Lamar Jackson himself, who had, 4 touchdowns, 350 yards this last game against the Bengals, a division rival, is coming back into his MVP form. This season, Lamar Jackson has accounted for 11 touchdowns and only thrown 1 interception this season. So shout out to Lamar Jackson. Shout out to the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe they find a way to get a Devontae Adams and see what happens, but we'll see. Number two for me, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know, shocking that they're not number one, but they have flaws. And what's really helping them is they have the best quarterback in the league and they have the best coach in the league. And other than that, they're just relying on bottom barrel talent. You know, the rookies like Xavier Worthy, who I think my Bills should have drafted, they're still undefeated despite all of the deficiencies, despite some of the games and how they've played out. I can't hate on that because 5-0 is 5-0. They're finding ways to win games. And I think if you're a team, or if you're a fan of that team or a fan of any team, finding ways to win games, whether they're pretty or ugly, blowouts or close games, is exactly what you're looking for. The Kansas City Chiefs are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So shout out to them. Number one, Minnesota, Skull, whatever, the Vikings. No team has been, to me, as consistently impressive as the Minnesota Vikings have been this year. Highlighted by, let me know if you had this on your bingo card, but the rebirth of Sam Darnold. He's been really good. And then you add Aaron Jones. I know he left the game with a hip injury, but he's been solid for them. And Justin Jefferson, to me, has kind of been underperforming. I don't know if that has to do with, the new offense or things, getting used to Sam Darnold. I don't know. But even then, he has been coming up clutch for them with some big catches. So they'll get better. I had Detroit running away with this division. I'm not so sure now. It's definitely, to me, a 2-horse race in the NFC North between Minnesota and Detroit. And Minnesota is firmly in the lead, obviously, because they're 5-0 and they are also undefeated. Bottom three, number 30, the Carolina Panthers. I think they made the right decision moving from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton. I think if you had any chance of saving Bryce Young, you had to bench him. He wasn't ready to come in and start right away. However, I've seen that there hasn't been that much of a difference in the team's performance. The one lone bright spot for that team is Chuba Hubbard. I like, he's gotten better with Andy Dalton. I don't know if that's just because teams respect the pass more, so it's opening up. And Andy Dalton hasn't been awful. Like I think the Panthers just are a rebuilding team. They're just not a good team, right? But I think they'll figure it out eventually. But I do think, Bryce Young getting benched helps in a way because Hubbard has gotten better. So for that reason, I guess you can kind of hang your hat on that if you're a Panthers fan. But they're not the worst team in the league. I'll put it to you like that. Number 31, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brian Thomas, like Chuba Hubbard, Brian Thomas Jr. is the only thing making this team worth watching. Trevor Lawrence's days as a franchise quarterback, or people viewing him as a franchise quarterback or the future of the NFL, should be over. He's not good. And you want to blame Doug Peterson? I don't care what you do. The Jacksonville Jaguars have talent. It's Doug Peterson. It's hard to say this of a Super Bowl winning coach, but I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. I don't know what the disconnect is. All I know is Trevor Lawrence isn't as good as advertised. And so they build him as a can't miss prospect, and I haven't seen anything that says that to me. So if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I am definitely scouring and looking to see what I can get to replace Trevor Lawrence. And number 32, we talked about him earlier. The Cleveland Browns, I don't know how you can name anybody else really at this point to be worse than Cleveland.